Sorry, I just stopped and restarted the recording. For those of you who are just joining in now, you are watching Valkyrie Gaming, Age of Sigmar Soulbound, character creation, and I am your hostess, Charlotte, also known as Foxfire22. That is FOXFYRE22. We are about to go through our first character creation of one of our Soulbound characters, starting next weekend at 1 p.m. PST. No, sorry, 12 p.m. PST, 1 p.m. Mountain Time on the 16th. We'll be doing a 2-episode session of our Learn to Play with Soulbound. So, now that I got a little bit of a free time and the book just came out, now is a perfect time, I feel, to get our character creation finished. Well, started at least. We have one of my players in the chat right now, Keza. I am going to be working on making her pre-generated character based upon a character that she plays in our freeform roleplay channel, as well as I believe one of her favorite characters in her army. I'm thinking. There's a question mark behind that. So yeah. So let's start by getting our yes. Oh, and we got wait, Elaine, is that a yes? Pause for dramatic effect. It is awesome. All right, so I have 2 of my players for our game next weekend here. The first one being Keza. You may see her in some of the Valkyrie Gaming or AOS Discords that I'm a part of. We are also working together with a bunch of other people on a fan-made Age of Sigmar actual play, which is known by the name of Madrigal. I believe that is spelled Madrigal. I'll have a clarification on that in a second. You can find that on Spotify, amongst other podcasty areas. I haven't seen where else you can find it, but it is on Spotify, I know for certain. I'm just starting with the 3rd episode. I am going to be playing a character on that. I'm really looking forward to hearing how this is all working out. We're almost finished our recording. We're just waiting on a few more lines from some people to come in, and hopefully everything will be able to get started on that. And then my other player that I have in the chat right now is Delayed Elaine. You may recognize her from the writing credits of AOS and other various tabletop role-playing games, and some tabletop board games as well. There's one that's releasing right away, I think. I cannot remember the name of it. I know I backed it and then things happened, but that should be coming out for her, which is really exciting. Yeah, Adventure Mart. That is what it's called, Adventure Mart. I backed that on Kickstarter, and then it got canceled because it got picked up by a distributing company, which is kind of cool. So I'll have to wait until that gets into stores and we're able to shop again. And yeah, and then we have our 3rd member that just popped into chat, Lolnades. I'm not sure what his name is, but he's been kicking around a lot of the AOS areas as well. He's pretty big into that. He's on our Valkyrie Discord. I'm not too sure what else I could say about him. I don't know that much, to be honest. All I know is he's a pretty decent person from what I've seen so far. Hopefully he doesn't change my mind on that. And then I'm hoping that our 4th might pop in a chat here soon. And our 4th is Rune Sale, which is one of the artists for Age of Sigmar Soulbound. He does some pretty amazing artwork. Maybe I'll show some of that here in a little bit. And you know what, with that, I think we should get this thing going. So, let's pull up, where did I stick? Character creation. Okay, so, on the screen right now is a copy of the Age of Sigmar Soulbound character creation sheet in all of its form fillable glory. It is awesome that Emmett Byrne, the producer of AOS, went through all that work to get this ready to go for release. He was a little hesitant whether he'd have it done, but he pulled it off. And it makes our lives playing online so much easier. And thank you, Troy, for subscribing. That is actually my first subscription on Twitch. So, at the end of the stream, I'll talk a little bit more about what I've got on the go with Troy. We got something planned for next Thursday. Yeah. So yeah, it's when we started to see really fleshed out pictures of the character sheet, I fell in love with it. I'm not going to lie. It is a nice, clean sheet. Oh, you got my pointer there. There's a lot of open space to be able to scribble between a lot of the columns if that's needed, if you're at a table. And also having it on a PDF, you're able to type a whole bunch of stuff and it will condense as needed. Because sometimes when you get into like your background and your notes and your other gear, that can really take up some space. One of these days I'll start working on my drawing skills and be able to do up a nice little portrait here, which looks like he's got it linked so you can load a portrait from online. So you know what, let's do this. I got some pictures earlier from Keza of her character. So let's take this one. Gonna steal this picture. Open that. Yeah, they are quite handy. Throw that into my streaming assets. Okay, now let's see how well this will pop it up. Yeah, that works. I mean, in a quick pinch, like if I wanted to take another minute or two, I could easily get that cropped so it fills up the whole screen, and now that I've said that, I have to do it. So we'll get rid of that. Bear with me here. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to toss them in the chat. I'm hoping to have this uploaded to YouTube in about 24 hours for those of us who weren't able to make it live today. Get this cropped to a little bit better of a ratio. Get this exported now. I'll call this Keza Portrait. Exported. Alright, that looks a little bit better. Get rid of the blue tone. There. Yeah, well, Nades, I wonder if I can paint my character's model in a week. No pressure whatsoever. Don't feel obligated to. If we need to, we can find some other minis that maybe some of your friends or some of our Discord friends will let you use. So anyway, back to the main part of the character sheet. Yeah, so everything on the character sheet itself is laid out really nice. You have your typical name, archetype, species, some quick details about your character at the top. Then it breaks down into body, mind, and soul. which are your main attributes. You just have the 3 of them to worry about. And then you have your skills on the right-hand side, which break down into a whole bunch of other ones. Now, one thing that you may or may not notice right off the start is the skills are not aligned or referenced as any specific attribute. So these have been set up so you're not being pigeonholed or stifling your creativity in getting a pairing of a skill and an attribute put together. So there are times when if you want to use, let's say, which one would work best for this one? Yeah, there are a bunch that can be used. I just cannot think of any of them off the top of my head. But that is why it will be part of the player's responsibility to convince me what skills and attributes would go together. So it's not all my job. I mean, crafting would come into play, I think. Could be a little bit of body, a little bit of mind, depending on what you're making. Your attacks themselves are typically a specific attribute and skill combo. Do we have a cheat sheet on here for that one? We don't, but we can look that up in a few minutes here. Alright, so then we have goals and connections, basically what your character sees as what they are trying to accomplish, and then on the connections, I believe that is the connections that you have with your party. But I'll need to clarify that one. Get the book up here a little bit more. Your talents, you have talents assigned to you at creation based upon your species. And then I believe you can purchase talents as well. So for those of you familiar, it's something similar to Wrath and Glory, where the talents help you make your character different from everyone else's. Then below that, we have what I have loved from day one is the ladder. The ladder being a quick and easy reference to see how your attack is going to go. So on the left-hand side, you have where your skills lie, whether you are poor, average, good, great, superb, and extraordinary at your, I don't know what the terms are off the top of my head, but there's the melee or melee, there is ranged, and there's defense. And beside that, you have a quick cheat sheet as to what the difficulty number is going to be. So let's say we are a Stormcast Eternal Knight Questor with a melee that is good, and we are going up against a beastie. Oh, I am so sorry, I forgot about that. A good chunk of the bestiary was written by Elaine, so she did a huge job on that. So I'm going to quickly jump down to the bestiary. And let's take a Mirmorn Banshee. Alright, so the Banshee has a melee of average, a ranged of average, and a defense of poor. So if we have a melee of good, we are going up against their defense of poor. So we got good, we got poor, and now we go to the attack DN. So our Questor will be looking at, in this case, I believe it's 2 or more steps higher, so a DN of 2, a difficulty number of 2. So they need 2 successes. They need a roll of 2 or more to successfully hit, because we have 1 step, 2 step. So it keeps that pretty straightforward. Really quick and easy to read. Your combat is nice and quick because you have your difficulty here. It doesn't come up to the GM to spit those numbers out at you. There will be other situations where they will need to do that. Like, for example, you know what? No, we'll get into that a little bit later. Don't want to get too off track. And then Elaine is saying that I am sorry for the monsters that I have unleashed upon the mortal realms. All that I have to say on behalf of everyone everywhere is thank you so much. There is a pretty big variety of monsters in the bestiary, covering a lot of the different ranges that you would normally see in the war game itself. Everything from Skaven to Chaos and many other things. My PDF loads so slow. Alright, so any questions at this point? Because I feel like I've been doing all the talking. Well, thank you for stopping by. I'm never sure how to pronounce his screen name, Schumer. He's got to run for a meeting. He is an admin of mine with one of our other servers that we run, as well as someone I talk to frequently on Mud and Blood podcast Discord, which I spend a lot of time on. Alright, so scrolling. Denifrix, that's okay. Plenty of monsters means plenty of ingredients. Yeah. Kill all the things and take all their stuff. Having a nicely rounded bestiary makes it easy for the GM to be able to create well-rounded and varied adventures for their players, which is kind of nice. But like every other RPG that we come across, we always want more, so here's to hoping for an extended bestiary somewhere down the line. But, you know what, not right now. Let's give them time to relax, because they've been putting a lot into this book, and plan out their next steps. Meanwhile, I'm still scrolling to try and get to the character creation. So, you know what, I am going to do this. Alright, so for those of you who aren't familiar with what Soulbound is, Soulbound is an RPG where you play characters that are bound together. They are outside of the bounds of the other gods in the mortal realms, with the exception of Sigmar. It is a very painful process to become soulbound. Stormcast Eternals cannot be soulbound because their souls are already bound to Sigmar, but everyone else is fair game. So I'm going to quickly show the artwork, like one of my favorite pieces of artwork in this entire book. And I believe it's done by Johan Grenier. This is the art that he has done up to help visualize the rite of binding, making you soulbound. It is one hell of a piece of work. Like, I love this image. When I first seen it, I was like, oh my god. I am particularly fond of Vel, so this one right here. The Night Questor. So anyway, that is it's one of my favorite pieces of art so far. Oops, closed the wrong one. Yeah, and if you're on the fence about buying this book, I'm going to let the art sell you on that, because it is phenomenal. If you're into a lot of the Age of Sigmar stuff that's out there already, you'll appreciate what's been done. The majority of the artwork in this book is original, done up for this book specifically. Um, yeah. Yeah. Denefrix, that looks very painful but worth it. I agree. One thing I might touch on in next weekend's game is the right of binding of the players who are not soulbound. Alex89 is asking, how lethal would you say the game is? Not as lethal as Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay and Wrath and Glory, but if you're not careful, things can go down rather fast. And thank you, Magnus Boy, for that subscription. And then all the various people who are following. But yeah, when we were doing our playtest before some tweaking happened, we were going up against... what was it we were going up against? It was a troll, I think, of some sort. And I took a hit, and it was bad. If I would have taken a second hit, I would have been on the ground. Thankfully, our Black Art Corsair was able to get in... It may have been a Troggoth. Our Corsair was able to get in behind and get some attacks in, which made... which spared my life a little bit. Alright, so let's hide this. We'll bring that back a little bit later. Are there bookmarks? There are bookmarks. Let's go to character creation. Make this quicker. I'm going to do one more thing because I get distracted so easy doing this, it seems. Oh, son of a bitch. Sorry, I was just in the Cubicle 7 website grabbing the link, which I'm putting up now for the pre-order for the rulebook. That is the core hardcover rulebook, which also gets you PDF. And then I seen that there's also dice rolling trays up there, and I don't need the temptation right now. Stone Monk Gamer, welcome, hello, thank you for joining us. Stone Monk was part of the other, or one of the other groups that was doing some playtesting, so... Alright, Alright, so there are two methods of character creation, I think. Yeah. Oh, and we have, I don't know how to pronounce his name either, Dosakios. He is one of the personalities on a podcast about Age of Sigmar, Mortal Realms podcast, I want to say. Which you can find on Spotify and in other various podcasty areas. Yes. Alright, so you have two different options for creating your character. Sorry, chat again, Denefrix. So wait, if you pre-order the real book, you get the PDF standard? Yes. Yeah, if you go to the Cubicle 7 website and pre-order the hardcover book, when they get it in, it will get sent off to the pre-order people, and you will get a PDF now, which is kind of awesome. And like I was saying, who knows when we're actually going to see the books in hand. I'm hearing estimates of Q4, but that is yet to be seen depending on how the world plays out. So while the world is figuring out how it plays out, let's play online with PDFs, which you would get for free by pre-ordering the book. Or you can go to the website as well and pre-order the PDF, if that is all that you need. Yes, and chat also pointed out that since Cubicle 7 uses bits and mortar, you can pre-order in your local store and still get the PDF now, which is also handy if you want to help support local game stores in a time when they are probably mostly closed for public access. Alright, so anyway, I'm going to ignore chat for a few minutes, but I'll get to all your questions in a few. Like I was saying, there's two different types of character creation. There is choosing your archetype or choosing free-form character creation. If you want to have complete control, top to bottom, over what your character is like, free-form character creation is the way to go. Free-form character... I feel like I'm not saying that properly now. Free-form character creation is also a handy way to create archetypes that aren't already in the game. So if you wanted to create yourself a Sister of the Watch, the free-form character creation would be the way to go, because there's not anything that lines up at a one-to-one on the current archetypes. But if you wanted to make a little tweak to, say, the Battle Mage, to, instead of having it as a human, having it as an elf, then just use the archetype and switch over the name from human to elf. And that's what we're going to be doing for the character that Lolnades is going to be playing. So yeah, you would go through, for the freeform character creation, as a quick rundown, you would start your body, mind, and soul all at one. You would choose any species you want, and then you have 35 experience to spend on increasing your attributes, skills, and learning your talents. You can choose 2 common weapons, or a common weapon and a shield, or a common, and a common light or medium armor, and a shield. And then it goes into some little specifics. If you're a Caradron, you instead get to choose one of the simple rigs. If you're a Fire Slayer, you get to choose a number of Urgold runes equal to your soul. And then you begin with 200 drops of Aqua Gyranus. Aqua Gyranus is the currency that is used for Age of Sigmar Soulbound. So it's like literally drops of water, which will vary on how valuable it is depending on where you are in the realms. You know, being in Gyran and having a container full of Aqua Gyranus might not be as worth as much than if you're in the Great Parch with only a phial of Aqua Gyranus. Drops of magic water. I have been corrected. And then if you are a Stormcast Eternal, you instead begin with 40 experience, and your equipment has specific traits. And then you also start off with only 100 drops of Aqua Gyranus. So the reason why there is a little bit of a difference between the starting is you are more limited as a Stormcast Eternal to what you can take, whereas the other species of the realms are a little bit more flexible. And we'll get to that here in a few minutes on the different archetypes that we'll come across. One thing I want to say that this game is very, from what I was able to see so far, it relies heavy upon party composition. So you want to have a bit of a range of characters in your party. Or, I mean, if you all want to be Knight Questors and just go nuts, let me know how that turns out. I'm actually very curious. Alright, so choosing your archetype. Your archetype represents who you are when you begin playing Soulbound. It defines your starting attributes, your faction or cultural heritage, your species, and the skills, talents, and equipment that you can choose. Pretty straightforward for a lot of other games if you are versed in other systems. The various species that you have to choose from are human. Scroll. Stormcast Eternal. I mean, while they were humans, they are a group of their own. What else we have? We have elves, which break down into your Darkling Covens, your Daughters of Cain, your Ideneth Deepkin, and your Scourge Privateers. And then you have your Duardin, which break down into your Fire Slayers and your Caradhran Overlords. And yes, for those of you who are wondering, there are female Duardin, and they are in this book, and there's pictures of them. Then you have your Sylvaneth, which are pretty straightforward, like your typical Sylvaneth tree folk. Yeah, that covers off the species. Yeah, one thing that I have noticed with Cubicle 7 is they have really done a nice focus on inclusivity. Where they can. Obviously, there are some areas where they can't. Or, I don't want to say can't, but don't really go into, like Wrath and Glory with the Sisters Battle. And I am scrolling through like talents and equipments and adding detail. There's some pretty decent names. If you are short on ideas. Excuse me. Scrolling. Then you get to physical appearance. You have your age, which there are tables for rolling your age. Distinguishing features, your eyes, your hair, your height. Obviously, each one of those comes with its own standard range that your characters will generally fall in. But if you want a character that's either taller or shorter, don't be bound by the tables. Create something that you want to play. Within reason, I think. I mean, that comes down to a lot of what you want with the party as well. I mean, if you're a 12-foot tree wandering through streets, it might be hard to get around the city without smacking your head off of things every time you turn around. Alright, so I was mentioning before goals. Goals are your character's ambitions. They are your hopes and dreams and personal quests or vendettas. So when you achieve your goals, you earn experience points. So that's kind of neat. Let's get to the actual creation. Then your party or binding, they have goals as well. Short-term, long-term goals. What do they award you? They award you XP as well. Obviously, I'm sure your party goals would be a little bit more in-depth and further reaching than what a personal goal might be, but not always. I was mentioning connections, which is on the screen in front of us. They are fragments of history and shared experience that tie you to one or more members of the group. Now, going back to this, there are a few tables in creation here that help you create your connections with your party. So you can roll and have you knew a certain player from back in the day when you were doing some kind of weird shit. Here, for your connections, rolling 1d6s. If you roll a 1 on both dice, blank has seen the tattoo of Slanesh on my chest. Not going to ask why that is there. Some other ones, blank knew my parents. I owe blank money. I read blank's journal. It was unsettling. Obviously, these are just hints. You can take any of these and tweak them to your own needs to help fit your group, or an idea that you have of a connection between multiple characters. And then it goes into asking you 10 questions, much like a lot of other RPGs nowadays. It helps. I find it's a good prompt to start thinking about who your character is. If you're making a character for a one-shot, not a big deal. In some cases, it's going to be a one-and-done character. If I'm rolling up pre-gens for a convention, then I might leave some parts vague. I'll probably still have something tossed in there just to help them have a party connection, but I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Some of these are like, where are you from? What was your childhood like? What do you desire the most? Something to get your mind thinking about where you've been, where you want to go, so on and so forth. And that kind of covers the rough gist of character creation. Obviously, when you start looking in the book, there's going to be a lot more detail. This is just a high-level overview. I don't want to give too much away, because then you won't have to buy the book. There are a few meta currencies in this game, one of which is metal. It is your drive to succeed and your will to survive. You can use your metal to do some feats of glory, for lack of a better term. I can't remember how mine was used when we were doing our playthrough. Initiative determines the order you act in during combat, from highest to lowest. And then there's advancement. Incremental XP costs to move from or move up levels and attributes, and same with skills. Skills you may notice on the character creation sheet here that we have training and we have focus. I will touch on that in a minute here as I refresh my memory as to exactly how that works. Should have gone back a little bit on that one. Anyway, let's get started on this. Okay, so since I have Keza in the chat with me, I'm going to have her answer some questions as we go through this. So we are going to go to archetypes. So, first question that we'll ask her is, what archetype? What archetype do you want to play? Alright, so Keza wants to play the knight-incantor. I'll slowly scroll down through the various archetypes. Actually, yeah, Elaine, if you are listening, what character are you looking at playing? Because right now we have a knight-incantor, which is going to be Keza. We have Lolnates, who's going to be playing an elven battle mage. Runesail, I believe, is going to be playing a trade pioneer. Slowly scrolling through the Idoneth Deepcan. Alright, Stormcast. And we have the knight-incantor. Right, so get that. Is that change anything. Yeah. So I just gotta get my screens modified a little bit. Alright, so, Keza, what is your character's name? Alright, so the character name is going to be Sanaki Goldblood. Do you know their rough age, eyes, hair, height, weight, distinguishing features, any of that stuff offhand? And if not, or, okay, so she does, so she is going to give that to me in chat. And while we wait on that, we'll go and populate the body, mind, and soul. So, we got 3 body, 4 mind, and 2 soul. Stormcaster, obviously a little bit more when it comes to some of the archetypes, or the archetype attributes. Okay, so then core skill. Each archetype has a core skill and a core talent, which are automatically taken, and then they have XP that they can spend on other skills and talents. Well, skills, talents are choosable. So, let's go back a few pages here. So what is a core skill? Yeah, the index of this game is really fleshed out, which is a nice change. Alright, core skill is on page 45. Okay, so you begin play with training 1 and focus 1 in your core skill. So the knight-incantor's core skill was channeling, so we got 1 point in training and 1 point in focus. So now, I'm just going to see if I can find this quickly. Still doesn't break that down too much. So off the top of my head, if I recall rightly, your training is how good are you at that skill. So when you are rolling to do something, say you are shooting a bow, you would take... Actually, you know what, here, let's make this easy, because shooting is a little bit different in this one. It threw me off at first, took me a few minutes to wrap my head around it. For a melee attack, you're using your weapon skill and your body, I think, typically. So in this case, if you had 1 training in weapon skill and your body was 3, you'd be rolling 4d6. And then if you had any focus in those skills, you would be able to increase... I think you could increase 1 die by 1 point per point of focus. Let's just do a quick search on that, just so I'm not confusing anybody or myself. Okay, so having a focus in a skill grants you a +1 bonus to the result of a single die when you make a test. You can have focus in a skill up to 3 times, with each focus granting an additional +1 bonus. These bonuses can be applied to the results of separate dice or combined into a single bonus for 1 die. So, okay. Yeah, that's pretty straightforward, I think. And then, like I was saying, the training itself increases your dice pool. Back to the archetypes. Stormcast Eternal, Knight-incantor. Alright, so now, this part might be a little bit harder to do over stream, but let's get the stats put in here. So Keza is saying Sanaki has purple hair, gold eyes, pretty youthful. So let's just put 27. Yeah, that's a good age. Probably right at 7 feet. I'm not sure what that equals out to be in centimeters, because Canada's weird with hybrid systems. And we won't bother with the weight. For distinguishing features, looks pretty youthful. Works. Okay, so we have our core skill of channeling put in there with its 1 focus, 1 training. And now we get to spend 7 experience over a bunch of different skills. So let's make this easy. Keza, what, in a few sentences, would you say the real focus is of Sanaki? Like, what is she good at? What is she skilled at? Now, because these are base characters, maybe take her back to when she first started upon being a knight-incantor. So some things to think about is like Arcana, Beast Handling, Channeling, Crafting, Determination, Intuition, Lore, Medicine, Theology, and Weapon Skill. Can't spell. There we go. And just gotta find that chart again for experience. I'm gonna snip that. Okay, so starting off, to get 1 point in a skill, either in training or focus, costs 1 experience. So we can have like 7 different skills at start, or we can have things scattered throughout to have a wide range of experience skill-wise. To move up from training 1 to training 2, or focus 1 to 2, would be an extra 2 experience on top of the first one, so a total of 3 experience would be spent. And to get it up from 2 to 3, you would spend another 4 experience, or 7 experience in total to get it from training 1 to 3. That includes buying the training and the skill in the first place. Okay, so from Keza, perhaps her strongest skill is fire magic. Back when she was human, she spent time in the city of Vesperia, where a lot of talented magicians were. Okay. So I'm a sucker for books, partially because it makes it a heck of a lot easier to do a lot of flipping through the book during character creation. Because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 skills that we could choose from the very start, and now we gotta go and figure out what everything is. I wish I could have like multiple screens clipped all at once. Okay, so we'll go to the skills chapter, and we are going to focus on things that a fire mage would use. So let's take a look at channeling, because we already have that in our archetype skill. Then we'll look at arcana, and we'll say determination and intuition, and maybe some lore. Just because it's only a one-shot, we're going to be running them through for 4 hours. We don't have them fully versed for everything that may come at them, because I'm hoping that we'll have all of the other characters separated as well. Sorry, not separated, but built enough that everybody, or that as a group, they can handle anything that comes at them. Okay, so remember page 71, which the knight-incantor is on, and then first one is arcana. What is arcana? Arcana typically uses the mind, represents the knowledge of eldritch and obscure mystic lore. You may also know something of the daemons of chaos. Yeah, so it's like a lore skill by the sounds of it. So you know what, let's throw 1 point into Arcana for now. So that is 1 out of 7 XP that we've used. What else do we have in here? Beast handling doesn't sound like she would be normally a beast master of sorts. Channeling. Channeling indicates how readily you can direct the arcane energies of the realms to cast spells. So I think in this case that would play a pretty strong role. So we'll take channeling. No, sorry, not channeling. Channeling? Channeling, yes. Okay, so we've already got 1 point in training and 1 point in focus. So let's bump that up to training 2, which will be the cost of 2 experience, because we're going from 1 to 2. And then when that gets used, that'll be an extra dice in her dice pool. So if we're using channeling mind, then we'll have 6 dice to use, and then 1 focus if needed. Determination. It allows you to press on to achieve your goals in the face of defeat and despair. Yeah, channeling is the knight-incantor's core skill. Determination tests are used to defy anguish and resist supernatural fear. Individuals with training or focus in determination have forceful wills and are not easily swayed from their chosen course. Alright. Sounds like something that she would have. And if at any point, Keza, that I say yes to something and you don't think it's a right fit, just let me know and we'll change it. So we'll put 1 point in determination for now. I'm going to keep track in the other talents box. So I spent 1, 2, and 1. So I've spent 4 experience so far on skills. We have 3 more to go. So what else did we have in there? We had intuition. I'll have to double check, but I think intuition combined with mind is used for your initiative. Successful intuition tests can give you information about an area beyond that which you merely see. Intuition reads people as well as places, hinting at possible deceit. Yeah. So let's throw another into intuition. And that'll be 1 more XP. And then what else do we have to round this out? There's weapon skill. You know what, let's go back for a quick second. 71. Oh, we had Arcana. We've done that. Beast handling. Read it. Channeling. Yes. Crafting. Didn't see that as it fits at this point. Determination. Yes. Intuition. Lore. Medicine. Theology. And weapon skill. A little too far. Yeah, a little too far. Okay, so lore itself, it lets you recall useful information from a combination of history and legend. Okay, so weapon skill, you know what, it doesn't matter what you play, weapon skill is always handy to have. So we've spent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 so far. Let's dump 1 point into weapon skill training and 1 point into weapon skill focus, which will bring us to our 7 points. It's a nice little round skill set, I think. Okay. Well, back to the main sheet, and now we have our core talents. At character creation, the core talents of a knight-incantor are spellcasting, celestial, celestial being a group within spellcasting, and unbind. So let's see what those are. Talents, spellcasting, celestial. Okay, so spellcasting spellcasting celestial is the magic of Azir dissipates and drifts. It holds the power of the unknown, of prognostication, of storms, and the stars themselves. But now, I know that the knight-incantor that Keza has in mind is more fire-based. So let's switch this to bright. So spellcasting bright. The magic of Akshi is one of flames and burning passions, of fireballs and fury. Bright magic shimmers like a heat haze and smolders like burning coals. Does that sound good, Keza? Alright, so now, tied with spellcasting, you have studied the lores of magic, and are able to shape the arcane energy of the realms into powerful spells. When you gain this talent, choose one of the lores of magic listed below. So in this case, we're taking Bright. You learn the spells Arcane Bolt and Mystic Shield, and can choose 4 more spells from the common spell list and your lore spell list. For more information on spellcasting, see Chapter 11 Magic. For information on learning new spells, see page 158. Alright, so Spells and miracles. First spell that we get is Arcane Bolt. Come on. Second we get is Mystic Shield. And we get 4 more. 4 more, not 5. Which we'll look into in a moment. You can learn additional lores as well as you go. Okay, so now Unbind. So a requirement of spellcasting and Unbind is having Training 1 and Focus 1 in Channeling. Oh my god, in Channeling. Obviously that's what we got as the Focus skill. So you have learned to quickly unravel the winds of magic and can unbind spells before they take effect. When a creature you can see within long range casts a spell, you can spend a point of metal to attempt to unbind it. This requires a mind challenging test. Oops, Jesus Christ. A mind channeling test. The difficulty of the test is equal to the difficulty of the spell. And the complexity is equal to the total successes the caster achieved. Okay, so we haven't looked at this yet, but the difficulty numbers based around Soulbound are they're a combination of 2 numbers. So quickly up on screen, if you can see this, you will see it listed as DN, say as per the example 5:2. So the the difficulty of the spell is 5, and the complexity is 2. So for your difficulty of 5:2, you need 5 to get 5 or higher on your rolls, so 5 plus. And you need 2 successes to successfully use this talent. So does that make sense to everybody in chat? It still takes me a little bit to get my head wrapped around that, but the more that I play with it, the easier it'll come. So now, in this case, using Unbind, the second number, the complexity, will be equal to the amount of successes that the other or the opposing force rolled to cast their spell. So if they got 3 successes to cast their spell, your complexity to beat is 3. But your difficulty is still solid. One sec. The difficulty of the test is equal to the difficulty of the spell. And you know what, to be honest, I'm not huge into magic, so I don't normally go right to a magic chapter, but we're going to have to in this case, because it almost sounds like that certain spells have a difficulty of, or a set difficulty. Sorry, pop it in the chat. So you have to roll a 5+ on each die to be counted as a success, and you need 2 successes, and yes, that's correct. Then from the mortal realms, multiple success rolls could be imagined as a complexity of time or multitasking. Yeah, that makes sense. So I'll pop into the spell list here in a few minutes when we get the other 4 chosen for Kez's character. But in the meantime, let's head back to the archetype sheet. Alright, so now we get to choose from 3 talents. Bulwark, Combat... Oh no, sorry, that's the Knight Questor. Sorry, it's just habit to hop back to the quest store. Okay, so we gotta choose 2 talents for the knight-incantor. Forbidden Knowledge, Iron Will, Potent Spells, Scholar, and Witch Sight. So let's go see what those are. Forbidden Knowledge, Iron Will, Potent Spells, Scholar, Witch Sight. Okay, so Forbidden Knowledge. Somewhere along your journeys, you have acquired ancient or lost knowledge. When you select this talent, choose a skill from Arcana, Lore, or Theology. When you make a test relating to the chosen skill, the dice gained from your level of training are doubled. However, if you fail the test, your carelessness brings something dark into the world. Doom increases by 1, and at their discretion, the GM may introduce future plots and adventures caused by your reckless use of the forbidden knowledge. Alright, so one thing I haven't touched upon yet is Doom. I am really looking forward to running a extended campaign for Soulbound because the Doom mechanic, we'll call it, sounds amazing. To try and sum it up, Doom is the light that shines upon the world. So as more Doom becomes present, people's attitudes grow dark, their outlooks dim, there may be more conflict in the area, various things. I haven't looked at it fully in the book yet, but it is a neat mechanic in this game. Okay, so there's Forbidden Knowledge. What else did we have? We had Iron Will. Requires training 1 in a determination skill, which we have. Hold on a second, I'm getting confused now between the quest store again. Knight-incantor. Yeah, okay, Iron Will. I'm just going to quickly type this list out here, just to remember it. Alright. Okay, so we've got Forbidden Knowledge, read through. Iron Will is... You are able to shrug off punishment through sheer force of will. You gain +1 toughness for each level of training in the determination skill. Toughness is used for your damage that you're able to take, which also ties in with your armor. Okay, so let's see what else we got. Potent Spells. Potent Spells sounds like something that they would take. Training 1, focus 1, and channeling. Your spells are more potent and harder to resist. When a creature must make a test to resist the effects of one of your spells, the number of successes required increases by 1. So it makes it harder to stop. So, you know, let's take Potent Spells for the second talent. Which we may change depending on what else we come across. Scholar. Choose the focus of your study. You double the dice gained from training in lore for tests concerning that chosen subject. Not going to worry about that for this game. And Witch Sight. Witch Sight is... Where is the mechanics? You're gifted with the ability to see the magical energy that permeates the realms. For some, this manifests as color waves. At the GM's discretion, you can use this ability to track and follow the flow of magic, though the realms are so pervasive with magical energy, this can prove quite difficult. In fact, witch sight can also be almost blinding in areas rich with magic. Meh. Alex89, do you use maps and minis in this game? I do not so far, but you know what? If I was to play it at a tabletop, I probably would for the combat. Partially because I have a lot of miniatures for Underworlds, which make perfect miniatures for Soulbound, in my opinion. Okay, so potent spells. Iron Will. You know, let's take Iron Will, because it'll help in defense. And to refresh my memory on how that works, I think it provides +1 toughness for each. At this point, you can only choose 2 from this list over here. Okay, so yeah, we have Iron Will and potent spells, along with Unbind and spellcasting. This side here was just a working list to easily remember what was going on. And then we'll see at the very end if we have anything left over for freeform purchasing. Then we can go from there if you want to choose which site. But I won't make which sites too much of a thing in our upcoming game, which will make that a little bit easier to choose from. Cool, which we have. Okay, now let's go back to our archetype. And then now we have some equipment. So I'll just steal that. Other gear. Okay, we have attacks up here. Talents. Spells. Armor. Okay. So we got Sigmarite plate, which counts as medium armor. We have the Incantor's staff, which I think that should be capitalized. So 1 second, I'm just going to do something quickly here. Okay. With that, then we have... I wonder if it's safe to say that the tabard of the Sacrosanct Chamber would be considered a cloak. Then we have a grimoire, a scroll case, and 240 drops of aqua gyranis. So do we have a spot here for our money? Currency, yes. Yes, we do. 240 drops. Let's delete these as we go. Oh, and then we also have a dagger. Cloak, we'll put this here for now. Tabard of the Sacrosanct Chamber. Huh. Alright, so then we're left with a grimoire and a scroll case. Now, we get to go and choose 4 more spells. Where are the spell list? Magic. Spells. We are looking for bright spells. Alright, so we have, looks to be about what, 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 spells in the bright spells list. We have Cleansing Fire, Fireball, From the Ashes, Glare of Volcatrix, Incandescent Form, Infernal Blades, Parch, Phoenix Spirit, Stoke Rage, and Stoke the Flames. Alright, so I know that she mentioned it before, so I'm going to take Fireball right off the start. And then now we have a DN of 5-2. So you're rolling 5+, and you need 2 successes to successfully cast it. Target is a zone, so distances and areas are broken down into zones to make it a little bit more abstract, so you're not counting each and every yard or meter or foot that you need to travel or shoot. There's more details on it in the book itself. It is starting to become a very popular way of dealing with ranges. Okay, so Infernal Blades, that just sounds awesome. Your allies' weapons erupt in flame as you imbue them with the etheric energy of Akshi. When you cast this spell, choose any weapons in your zone, and weapons affected by the spell deal +1 damage and are considered magical until the start of your next turn. Each additional success extends the duration by 1 round. So it sounds like a nice buff. So let's take that in Infernal Blades. That is a DN of 5-3. Range. Self. So kind of like an aura, I'm assuming. That's a real spell, Denifrix. That is in the book. Effect is +1 damage and magical. You could, yeah. Alex is asking, so the target roll on the die changes, not always 5+. Yes. It will depend on what you're doing. By the looks of it, most spells are starting off at a 5. In the Amethyst spells, you have Soul Steal, which is a DN of 6-1. From the ashes, you summon a small phoenix made of flame, which guards your soul in the event of your death. If you die while this spell is active, the flames of the phoenix consume your form, leaving only a pile of ash. At the start of your next turn, you return to life crawling from the ashes. You regain 1 toughness and are no longer mortally wounded. Okay, so from the ashes sounds pretty badass. Just saying. Hey, so targeted damage spells. Cleansing fire. Your zone is engulfed in fire. Any creatures other than you in the zone suffer 1 damage. Each additional success increases the damage by 1. So I mean that's a little bit more of an AoE. From what Emmett was saying, I think endless spells, there's only 1, but there's ways to make more. I haven't had a chance to look into that yet. Glare of Valkyrie. Yeah, so Glare of Valkyrie, your eyes turn to burning coals as your gaze falls upon an enemy, reducing them to ash. Choose a creature within medium range. The target suffers 1 damage, which ignores armor. Each additional success increases the damage by 1. Okay, so she's down for Cleansing Flames. Or Cleansing Fire. Oh yeah, Alex89, sorry to ask so many questions. No, that's alright, that's why we're here. Is it fair to say that you are kind of above the average person in this game? Like, are you going to be fighting god level stuff? God level stuff, no, not at the start. Maybe later on down if you survive long enough. But you are more than the average character. Now, there are alternate character creations where you can make just a normal run-of-the-mill character. But this, you're automatically, by rolling a Soulbound character, a step above the rest. You are like an elite of sorts. Okay, Cleansing Fire. That one's a 5/1. Yeah, Valkyrie, or Glare of Valkyrie is pretty cool. I mean, you could. Goblins are pretty weak, but it depends upon your class itself. Doing it with a Knight Questor, sure. Going hand-to-hand as a Darkling Sorceress, maybe not so much. But as I was saying, that's where your party composition really comes into play. And then, what did you want for the last spell, Keza? Glare of Valkyrie, I think, is the only other one that's a direct damage one. Okay, so yeah, we have Fireball, Infernal Blades, Cleansing Fire, and Incandescent Form. Incandescent Form. You speak words of power, transforming your body into incandescent molten rock, blinding your enemies. Until the start of your next turn, you gain +2 armor, and the melee and accuracy of any creature that attacks you is decreased by 1 step. Each additional success extends the duration by 1 round. Yeah, so it gives you armor and weakens everybody else. +2 armor. And enemy melee and accuracy -1 step. Cool. Okay, so that takes care of the 4 spells. I should finish Fireball. Range of a Fireball is medium. Duration is instant. No, sorry, 1 round. Danifrex is asking, can all spellcasters learn all the spells, or are some spells racial locked? I don't think any of them are racial locked, but I could be wrong. In this case, we were to start off with Celestial as the magic used, but we decided to change that to Bright for the sake of this character. Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. I can always look that up a little bit later and get back to you on that one. Yeah, the Deepkin one might be locked to the Sea Elves, which would make sense. Okay, so 1 damage for the Fireball. Alright, let's see what Arcane Bolt and Mystic Shield do. Because we got those right from the very start. Mystic Shield. You conjure a mystical shield for protection. Choose a creature within medium range. That target's defense increases 1 step until the start of your next turn. Each additional success extends that duration by 1 round. Okay, and that is a 5/1. Target 1. Range medium. Duration 1 round. Defense +1 step. And then Arcane Bolt. You launch a bolt of energy at an enemy within medium range. The target suffers 1 damage. Each additional success increases that damage by 1. Alright, and that, DN, is a 4/1, which makes it a little bit easier to cast. Target medium, sorry, range medium, target 1. Target 1, range medium. Duration instant. And that is +1 damage. +1 per success. Sorry. You know, one area I didn't spam the invite for this was on Facebook. That is a bad moderator. I should know better. Anyway, they'll be able to check it out afterwards when this hits YouTube. Alright, so I think that covers off all of that. What else do we have going on here? We have our talents, we have skills, we have all that information. Okay, let's go to our attacks. So that can be equipment, weapons and armor. Weapons. Right, so we have an incantor staff. Which I think is a quarterstaff. Damage is 1 plus S. Alright, yeah, so, sorry. I was lost on the S for a second, and I think the S is successes. So 1 plus the amount of successes you have in your attack. Very similar to what Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay does. Yes, Elaine had to duck out for a call. We are uploading to YouTube. I think I have to wait 24 hours after the stream ends to post up on YouTube due to something. But the replay will be made available as soon as the stream ends on Twitch itself. I don't remember if I got an answer. What were you looking at playing, Elaine? We have a knight-incantor, which we're creating right now. Then we have a trade pioneer that Rune is going to be playing. And then Lolnades is going to be playing a battle mage, an elven battle mage. Kurnoth Hunter or Branch Witch. Awesome. Tree people. Yeah, our Kurnoth Hunter in our playtest was pretty cool. I mean, in the Valkyrie Discord, you're Branch Witch Ellie, so... Dagger is plus S. And daggers have all of the traits. Okay, and then armor. Sigmarite plate is considered medium armor, which gives 2 armor. So armor of 2. Sorry. Okay, so for the main weapon of the quarterstaff, let's see what that gives. Where did my thing go? Quarterstaff has crushing and two-handed. Crushing, it's heavy and solid, deals bludgeoning blows to enemies. This trait has no effect by itself, but is useful for talents such as crushing blow, which doesn't pertain to this character. Two-handed. A two-handed weapon is large and requires 2 hands to wield. Pretty straightforward. And then for the dagger, piercing. The trait has no effect by itself, but is useful for talents such as pierce armor. That makes that easy. Subtle. What is subtle? Subtle. Can be used with the backstab talent. Easily concealed, goes unnoticed. Pretty much that's about it. And then it can also be thrown as a ranged weapon. That's kind of neat. Okay, so what do we have to fill out still? Okay, let's go to natural awareness. Get these knocked off. Actually, out of curiosity, Elaine, which areas did you write a lot in aside from the bestiary? Okay, so your natural awareness is equal to your mind plus your level of training in the awareness skill divided by 2, rounded up. Okay, so mind, we have 4. Awareness, we don't have anything. So that would give us a 2. Goals and connections we're not going to worry about. We have our talents. If we need to, we can always fill them in a little bit more. Alright, so let's find out how skilled we are at everything. Okay, so the ladder. So our melee is... Okay, so Elaine is saying that she only wrote the bestiary in the core book, and she was bouncing back and forth on Wrath and Glory, and then working on an AOS adventure content right now. I can't wait for the adventure content. Makes it so much easier to GM, not having to always come up with your own stuff. Okay, so to calculate your melee, add your body plus your level of training in the weapon skill. Okay, so we have body 3, training in weapon skill 1, so that's 4. Then we check the ladder, and 4 is an average rating. Right. Accuracy, to calculate your accuracy, add your mind plus your level of training in the ballistic skill. So we have mind 4. Nothing in ballistic, so that will also be average. And then defense, add your body plus your level of training in reflexes. In this case, we have a body of 3, nothing in reflexes, so that gives us average as well. So all in all, Senaki is pretty average. Thank you, Biggles and Ginger, for this subscription. Thank you for joining us. What do we have to do now? Initiative. Initiative is... Oh, sorry. Let's go down the list here. Toughness. Your toughness is equal to body plus mind plus soul. So 3 plus 4 plus 2 is 9. So I'll go 9 plus Iron Will gave us an extra 1, I think, wasn't it? Iron Will, you were able to shrug off punishment through sheer force of will. You gain +1 toughness for each level of training in the determination skill. Okay, so yeah, and yes, so you have 10 toughness. Cool. And back to that list. Too far. Quick, back up, back up. Okay, so, your toughness represents the amount of damage you can take before you start suffering wounds. And wounds, when your toughness has been reduced to 0 and you take further damage, you suffer a wound. Wounds represent serious injuries that can become life-threatening. Your character can only take a certain number of wounds before being overwhelmed and pushed to the brink of death. Cool. Yeah, I have the benefit of having some playtest experience, so I know a lot of this from the player's standpoint. And also I feel people who are new to the game will be able to listen into this stream later on down the road to get a feel for how it all plays out as well. You know, if they come across a certain aspect where they are thrown off a little bit, hopefully we can help clarify for them. And I feel it adds value going into our Learn to Play stream next Saturday. So start off with the character creation, let's see what we do for that to get a feel for it, and then we start walking through the game itself in an adventure setting. Okay. Your character sheet has a section called the Wound Track, and this shows the maximum wounds you can suffer as well as any current wounds. Your maximum wounds are equal to body plus mind plus soul divided by 2 rounded up. So that is 9 divided by 2 is 4.5, rounded up is 5. So let's just block these ones out for now. So 5 wounds until our knight-incantor bites it for good. Well, gets reforged. Initiative is equal to your mind plus your level of training in the awareness and reflexes skills. So our initiative is 4. Natural awareness we've dealt with. Metal. Your metal is equal to your soul divided by 2, rounded up. So soul of 2 divided by 2 is 1. Yeah, so I'm certain that Emmett has mentioned in the past, I'm not sure if to everyone or in our playtest group, that a lot of effort was put into making this very similar to the war game itself. That way it helps to ease... essentially, it helps us steal people from the war game and bring them into the role-playing game world, which I am all for. So I think that is everything for character creation. Finishing touches, the questions have been asked, the archetype, the attacks. Now I need to find out what we use for attacking. Like how to build our dice pool. Which... melee... yeah, so melee is body plus weapon skill. So 4 in this case. So a pool of 4. A focus of 1. And same with that. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and then when you are attacking... yeah, that makes sense. Any questions at this point? Because I think that covers everything. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Okay, so now... I'm going to show off a little bit of the art in here. Because I know that I showed that one image of the... any sneak peek about what we can expect from the stream adventure? Well, I can tell you that it is going to be in the Great Parch. There's that. And you know, actually, I do have this set up for that. Let's hide that, that. Let's switch that off. And there is the art-wise of the Great Parch. Nice big old map. Bring plenty of water, as Direware Teddy says. Biggles, how is the game to play test, play-wise, and how did it compare to Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay? It was fun to play test. Going into the playtest itself, this was my first time playtesting a game. I feel you have to have a bit of a different mentality going into it. You're not just going in for sheer enjoyment. It's not all fun and games. You're going in, you're going through scenarios, you are talking about how things work, discussing the pros and cons, see how everything works. Yeah, it was a fun experience. The group that I played with was pretty cool. I think we're talking about having a streamed campaign going on as well of those who of the group that I was with for playtesting. Play-wise, it was good. I enjoyed it. I found the system very quick and easy to learn. Once you have your character sheet going, that's it. And honestly, I've drawn out character creation for the sake of the stream to talk through a lot of it and figure out where everything is. But once you get going with character creation once or twice, you'll be able to get it done in no time at all. Having the archetypes right there to deal with, It was awesome. Um, Actually, one thing I should have checked on, which I seem to recall before, is species bonus. So anyway, yeah. In comparison to um, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, I I'm not sure if I can compare those two. To be honest, they are two separate games, two separate feels. While a lot of the setting is the same monster-wise, everything else is different. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, um, you're nothing special. There's nothing really separating you from the next person beside you. You are average humans. I mean, having a D100 system as well makes it a little bit more of a grittier game to play with. Whereas this game is more like high fantasy, heroic fantasy. There is not a mechanic in the system set to penalize you if you fuck up. Which, I have my own feelings about that, but that's just me. Like, I'm talking like criticals and fumbles and stuff like that. Actually, speaking of, I'll have to look to see if there's criticals in this, because I don't recall. But yeah, they are two separate games. They just share a base world, because the old world was destroyed, and now you have the Age of Sigmar. I see a lot of people talking and debating about one being better than the other. I mean, that comes down to personal preference. In my eyes, they are two separate games, and you really can't compare them to each other. Doom is not like an actual mechanic on dice. Sorry, Keza in chat said, but Doom. And then, like, Doom doesn't really come into play too much in a one-shot, unless you want to use that to set the tone. I have a plan of doing one living adventure of sorts, where every time I run a group through that adventure, because I'll be using that to teach other groups here locally, once we can start dealing with each other again, I will have remnants of the party that came before. Denfrix is asking, can you lose a limb in the game? I don't know. I'm not sure. I can look that up in a few minutes here and find out. I mean, if you took a mortal wound or something like that, and you lived afterwards, sure, yeah, you lose a limb. If that's how you want your character to go. I'm sure there's probably something in the rules themselves for taking massive damage and losing a limb or something like that, or losing an eye, or... But off the top of my head, I'm not sure. Alright, so one thing that we should touch on, one of the meta currencies that you have is called Soulfire. Your Soulfire is equal to the number of members in the binding. Now, that being said, Stormcast Eternal characters cannot truly be a part of a binding, like I was saying at the beginning of the stream. So their numbers do not count towards a Soulfire, nor can they use Soulfire. Soulfire represents the bond between those who are soulbound and allows them to perform incredible feats by drawing on each other's power. Doom represents the growing dread in the world as the realms are overrun by chaos, death, and destruction. Soulbound characters utilize Soulfire, while the GM utilizes Doom. Alright, so now that I was tossed off topic, what was I looking for? I completely forget. Right, art. was looking at, then I got onto something else. Yes, racial abilities, thank you. Slow scrolling PDF. Yeah, because some species get bonuses. Let's get to the very start of this. Okay, humans. Humans are adaptable. They gain one additional talent. This can be any talent that you meet the requirements for in the skills and talents chapter. Stormcast Eternal, Reforged. During character creation, roll 1d6 to determine how many times you have been reforged. If you roll a 6, roll again and add the results together. Continue doing so for any result of 6. And then when you die, you may be reforged, as the reforging process can take anywhere from hours to years. Work with your GM to determine a narratively appropriate time for your return. For elves, they are long-lived. They have training 1 and focus 1 in any skill of your choice. These must be applied to the same skill and must be applied before spending any experience gained from your archetype. So you can't take your archetype skill and talent, your training and focus, and add 1 and 1 on top of that from your species. The species comes first. Duardin, your maximum wounds increase by 2, giving you 2 additional spaces on your wound track. And the Sylvaneth, your base armor is 2. If your natural armor is damaged, it regrows and is repaired after a rest. You cannot wear armor, but your natural armor can be reinforced. See Iron Bark Oil for more details. So, yeah, there's little benefits that you get based upon your species itself. Yeah, so, for our adventure coming up, let's see if I can do this without messing much up. We will unlock that. Expand that. Now try and find exactly where I'm sending you. Aware. There we go. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Alright, let's change this again. Okay, so where are we going to be adventuring next weekend? If you look to the bottom right of my little square thing, you're going to see the Flame Spider Woad. That is where we're going. Not going to tell you what and what's going on there, but yeah. I have a generic idea that I felt would fit perfectly in the Woad itself. There will not be any spiders. Now, I talked to my players prior, and some of them are squishy with bugs, so that's going to be a no. And that's like doing any kind of zero session with a normal group that's running for multiple sessions. You kind of want to talk to your players to get a feel for what are they okay with, what are they not. Some hard and fast rules that I have are obviously I gotta stop saying obviously, but Sexual violence is a big no. Violence against children is a no. If anybody has any phobias that they don't want to deal with, that's a no. And then players are always welcome to come privately to say what's good and what's not. There was a consent sheet that went around last year from Monty Cook, I think it was. That's a good basis for any kind of discussions for a zero session. Yeah, no killing of animals, like pets or anything. So if you have a horse, I'm not going to kill your horse or have a horse suffer some kind of weird-ass fate if you turn your back for 2 seconds. But yeah, those are some of the basic ones that I tend to implement right as a get-go. Because that kind of covers off a lot of the wide nopes for a lot of people. And then, like I said, for any kind of phobias, if anyone says no to something, then it's too easy to work around. I mean, everything will be different for your groups and the games that you play, but that is up to you and your table and the conversations that you have leading up to your game. Anyway, if you're getting into a group and everyone wants to play a certain way and you're not cool with that for whatever reason, never be afraid to say no, because your mental health is not worth a game. Alright. So, there's my soapbox. Let's switch back over to this. And then, let's go hunt down some pieces of art. Which one do I want to find? I want to find the realms. Where are the realms? The mortal realms. I want to find Gairan. The Gairan just resonates with me for some reason. That wasn't it. Where was that one? Gairan, best ran. Yeah, like Elena's saying, folks show up to the table to have fun and make stories together. Not everyone wants to confront their demons at the same time. That's a really good way to put it. I think I'm getting closer. Found it. Alright. Close that. And this is another one of my favorite pieces of art. I'm not sure what it is about it. I just kind of like the idea of walkways in the trees, and you could see a I'm not sure what the name is off the top of my head. There's a knight something or other up in the sky there. And I don't recall who did the art for that one. That one may be... I think Emmett said it was J.G. O'Donoghue, but I'm not too certain. Yeah, Knight Azeros. That's what it is. I think. What was the other one? There was a Knight Azeros, Incantor, Questor. What was Knave Black Talon? And then a little bit more of the art. All in all, you know what? This book is one of the prettier ones that I've seen in quite a while. I honestly think I prefer this one over Wrath and Glory. I'm not saying the game's better or anything, just the book itself. The art that has been done up for this. Anyway, I think that is about it. Oops, wrong one. Yeah, so anytime over the next few days, if you have questions after watching this, feel free to reach out to me. You can find me on posting random things on Facebook in my Soulbound Facebook group. You can find me on the Discords, whether it's at Ratcatcher's Guild or Wrath and Glory or Age of Soulbound, the Age of Sigmar Soulbound Discord. You can hunt me down on Twitter at Foxfire22. Yeah, so Denax Free is saying Knave Blacktown was a Knight Zephyros. The other archetype was knight-incantor. Yes, that's the one that I forgot. Yeah, so FOXFYRE22 on Twitter. Same thing on Instagram. I am all over the place. I get around. Yeah, so this Saturday coming up, which is the 9th at 12 p.m. PST, you can find me here again doing our second session of Wrath and Glory, our second Learn to Play session. And then next Saturday, the 16th, at 12 p.m. PST, you can find me and a bunch of the lovely folks in our chat here playing our first session of Soulbound. So we'll basically be running through the game, walking through the system itself as we play an adventure to help people learn the game. Sometimes it is easier to sell a game to your GM or your players if you have something that you can show them. So I am here to aid in that endeavor. I am eager to try out a ton of games, as well as teach people all kinds of other games, rather than that one and only that a lot of people really enjoy and don't venture away from too often. If at any point you are interested in seeing what else we have coming in the future, I got to update my website blog a little bit with our upcoming schedule. But if you go to our Learn to Play Discord, which the link is in the notes, in our schedule we'll have what and when we're playing. There's also a sign-up sheet there if you want to sign up for future games. Typically, I am trying to get four people per game. I am also trying to get a diverse representation of folks on the game, because games are for everyone, and we want to prove that. As well as it ties in with our Valkyrie gaming group, which is a group for women, both trans and cis, non-binary, and gender-fluid gamers, to create an environment where we can talk about games and not have to worry about anything else, and eventually move this over into the meat space and get groups going in our local area to help bring more people into the games. If you're curious about what Valkyrie is as a whole, feel free to reach out and ask those questions. We have a Discord server for that as well, which I can provide to you at a later point. I think I've covered everything I need to cover. The dice roller that you've seen earlier, which I didn't really use, was by Fantasy Grounds. The music that you've heard on loop for the last 2 hours has been from Tabletop Audio, which is freaking awesome. Yeah. Thank you everybody for coming out and listening to me ramble as I go through creation of our first character for our Age of Sigmar Soulbound by Cubicle 7 game. It's a lot of words. Thank you everybody who has followed and subscribed. That means a lot. It's kind of uncertain to move forward with this as a project, but I think everything is turning out well. If you have any games that you want to see run on here in the near future, join our Discord and let me know, or send me a message on Twitter. I'm always looking for more games. I've got a list so far. Let's just go through the let's go through our schedule quickly. Schedule. Okay, so May 2nd and 9th, we're already done the 2nd, so on the 9th we have Wrath and Glory. May 16th and 23rd we have Soulbound. And after that, I'm changing the format just a little bit. Originally I was running a new game every 2 weeks, and that's stressful already. After 2.5 games, that's stressful. So I am going to have... I'm still going to have a stream every Saturday, but I'm going to do something different on those off streams, whether it's just an off one shot or something, or that is probably where I'm going to do the character creation for our upcoming game, so then that way it gives me another week to be able to read through the core book as well, to get that going. So on the 6th and the 13th of June, we're going to be running Punk Apocalyptic. That one is by I just had it, the guy who made Shadow of the Demon Lord, Robert Schwab. If you like Borderlands, you might like Punk Apocalyptic. Then on June 27th and July 4th, we are going to be starting to go through the starter set for Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. Then one of my guests on for that one is the narrator from Lore by Night, which is a really wicked podcast. It goes through the lore of Vampire the Masquerade. If you're into that at all, go check him out. His podcasts are awesome. And that's all that I have on the list so far. I think I might add the One Ring right after that. We'll see. And then, yeah, I got a whole bunch of other stuff waiting in the wings. So with that, I'm going to say thank you one more time, and I'll catch y'all on Saturday at 12 p.m. PST for our second session of Wrath and Glory. Thanks, everyone.